Hello, my name is Chris Monroe. I've been a senior engineer working with Greenlight Group now, just a little beyond 6 years. My focus has been on the Operations Center workspace in the HPBTO portfolio. Today we are going to work on the settings behind UCMDB views using parameters.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me here today to talk about UCMDB parameterized views. So in this particular demo, I'm going to be showing you the difference between a view and a parameterized view. The first thing you'll notice is we're in the Modeling Studio. We're going to use the Modeling Studio to create our view and also turn it into a parameterized view. Once we're done with that, we're actually going to use the IT Universe Manager to look at the results of that parameterized view. So let me get started. First thing I'm going to do is create a new view. I'm actually going to create it as a pattern-based view. We're not going to use an existing query. We're going to just start from scratch here. And when I do that, it's going to give me a blank grid that we can use to put our view TQL together. Now, if you don't know what TQL is, we may have some other videos that help discuss what TQLs are and how to work with the UCMDB. But in this case, I'm going to be creating a query to look for databases. I'm going to filter it down somewhat, but I'm just going to be creating a standard view to look for databases. Now, in this case, happens to be running software databases. As you can see, right now I've got a total of 41 databases listed in my UCMDB database. And if I wanted to look at all of those, I can just come up here and click a preview button. It's going to give me a list of all 41 of those. Now in most cases, you know, if I'm the DBA, I'm not in charge of all databases. I may be in charge of the Oracle databases or the SQL databases, but not both. So for a DBA, this report is a little more than they need. If we want to be able to filter that, we can go back to the view and we can add some filter criteria. So in this case, I'm going to filter these databases down to just Oracle databases. If I right click on that object, you notice I have query node properties right here. I can go in and I can set filters in this window. So the filter choice that I'm going to make, I want to be able to separate Oracle from SQL. That happens to be the database type. So I'm going to look for an attribute in here called type that's going to allow me to separate out those values. Now I'm going to also change this equals option to a like. That way I don't have to be exact. I can use this percent symbol as an option to fill in the gaps for me. But in this case I'm going to look for just Oracle. And out of those 41 databases that we saw just a moment ago, if I do another quick preview, you will notice that now I am down to only 4 databases. So if I'm an Oracle DBA, that is what I want to see. I don't care about MySQL, I don't care about DB2, I don't care about any of the other databases. So I'm going to be satisfied with my view of just the Oracle databases. So I'm going to go ahead and save this view, and that gives us a good solid foundation view, but I'm not going to separate this as Oracle just yet. I'm just going to save this as databases. You'll see why in just a moment. But now let's say I want to make a view that the Microsoft SQL DBAs would like to see. Now I've got all the same criteria. They need to see the databases, they need to see the details of each of those databases. But do I need to go in and actually create a separate view and a separate query into the UCMDB to get that data out? No, I actually had all 41 of those databases in this query. I just simply chose to filter to the Oracle databases only. Now if I go back and look at those properties again, the one thing that we skipped past last time is this parameterized option. If we come in here and switch this from no to yes, that actually turned this filter into an adjustable parameter. So I'm going to give a label to this parameter. This is what everybody's going to see when they use the interface. So I'm going to call this database type. I'm still going to leave this default value as Oracle here for now. But just to show you what that does for us, it doesn't look like anything's different. Again, if I hit preview, I'm currently going to be able to see the same thing. Now, in this preview mode, I don't have access to my parameters. So I'm going to go ahead and save this view one more time, but since I switched it over from not parameterized to a parameterized view, as soon as I hit save, it's going to prompt me to save it as a template instead. And the reason for this is because now I've got multiple different possible results that can be used depending on that parameter. If anybody wants to go in and change that parameter, they're going to see different results. And at that point, they will have the option, if they want to save that as a view later on. So I'm going to go ahead and save as template. And now we're going to switch over to the IT Universe Manager to take a look at that view in more detail with all of the potential possibilities. So if you look here, and I'm looking under the views, I'm going to go find that view that we just created. It was called Databases. Remember, I didn't make this Oracle specific or SQL specific, but I still have that same filter applied. Right now it says Oracle, and those are the only databases that I'm seeing. But the option that we didn't have before is this option to look at those parameters. So as I open this up, you'll notice the database type label that I set and the value that was the default value of Oracle. Now what if we want to look at MySQL instead of Oracle? I can just simply change this to MySQL and we can take a look at the results there. If I hit OK, it's the same view, but notice now I've got a different set of results. So I'm still looking at databases. I've got all of the same properties and values and report capabilities, but now I'm looking at the MySQL databases instead of the Oracle databases. I can do the same thing again if I want to look at Microsoft SQL. So, and I have the option to do wildcards as well, so if I wanted to just do Microsoft and leave it at that, I can put that % in there to act as a wildcard. And now you can see I'm looking at Microsoft SQL databases. So with this option, that parameter allows us to go in and use a single query to get more focused results if we're looking for the same criteria in our reports, or depending on different departments. However you'd like to use that data now is up to you. But with a parameter, it allows us to reuse the same query in as many different ways as necessary. Thank you very much for your time.